Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fashion Files podcast with me, your host, Jelena. So, today we are on our second episode, which is very exciting. Last week, if you did not listen to our first episode, definitely go ahead and give it a listen. It's sort of an introduction to me, your host. I give you a little bit of my background and then also a little bit of background on the podcast, sort of setting future expectations for episodes and all of that good stuff. So, if you're listening now, I appreciate it, but also maybe go listen to that just to give you a little bit more intel on me and what I am all about. This week, though, we have more of a normal episode. This is sort of what you guys can expect from episodes moving forward, as sort of today's episode, something similar. And if you guys ever have topics that you really want me to discuss, or you find an article or something that's interesting, definitely send it my way. Instagram or Twitter, best ways to reach out to me. Instagram is the Fashion Files Podcast, and Twitter is the Fashion Files Pod. So message me. I will see it. Definitely reach out there. Or you can also reach out to me on Anchor. I think you guys have the option to send me little voice notes. So if anyone would love to do that, I would love that. I haven't received one yet. So if anyone wants to be the first one to test it out, feel free. So today we're going to be talking about where were the masks at Spring Summer 2021 shows. And when I say that, I really want to be clear that I'm talking about the Inperson Spring Summer 2021 shows that were held, not the alternatives to the traditional fashion show. We're not talking about the videos, the other presentations. We're really talking about in-person shows. And to be honest, I'm still kind of surprised and shocked that in-person shows were held. It seems kind of weird to me that still dealing with COVID, we're going into, I guess, the winter and fall now. There's talks of a second wave and everything, or a third wave, I guess, since I'm in the United States too, for a little bit of context for you guys. So obviously, COVID-19 in the United States has not been handled well. It is quite the mess right now. So that's also why my perspective, it does really surprise me that they're holding shows. But with that being said, this is a fashion podcast. This is not a science and health podcast. I cannot comment on like what's going on in Paris and Milan and London. I'm not over there. I don't know. I'm unfortunately not keeping up with it. So, although I was surprised that they had them, it was sort of nice to see that some sort of normalcy, but it was still surprising. And it was extremely surprising and kind of really disappointing that basically none of the models were wearing masks in a lot of the shows, which I feel like is just confusing on so many levels. Like, first off, COVID is still like very much so here. I'm not sure if everyone was tested or anything. Even if they were, I feel like just still for another layer of protection, it probably would have been good. And also, like, if this was the spring summer 2021 show, I'm assuming that by spring summer 2021, we're all still going to be wearing masks. So I don't know why they wouldn't have included them. Like, masks are like a new accessory for everyone. Like, it's something we literally cannot leave the house without. Like, I feel like I always have one in my purse or in my car. Like, they're everywhere. So I just feel like it would have been so exciting if designers could have really like worked with the mask and used creativity and like innovation and found some like cool creative way of doing something new with the masks. I mean, even thinking about like Lady Gaga is the first person who comes to my mind when I'm sort of thinking about like cool and innovative masks. I remember she did one of the music awards and she had like 3 or 5 different masks and they were all so cool. That's the sort of thing I want to see these creative designers and directors doing. Like, I want to see their take on the face masks. And I think it would be really interesting. And I think also in terms of like shopping in the business side of fashion too, I think like, I mean, I would buy a face mask. Like, I'm looking for cuter ones. Currently, I'm only wearing N95 masks and they are very, very helpful, very useful. I feel very protected in them. I would love something a little cuter though that still maybe has room for a filter. So I think like from the business side, obviously the clothes that all of these designers sell, typically ready to wear, is not where the money comes from. Typically the money comes from accessories, handbags, shoes, jewelry, all of that good stuff. A mask, I feel like, is the new accessory. So I feel like it would just make sense in terms of like all sides of the situation. Like financially, it would definitely make sense. Like I know we're seeing Louis Vuitton coming out with the face shields, which I'm not sure when those are coming out, but that leads us into what I wanted to talk about next is some of the designers who did not show masks that I was really shocked at were Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Dior, Valentino, and Balmain. Chanel really shocked me because they have the resources to come up with like some really cool masks. I feel like I kind of was expecting Virginie to do something. I mean, even just putting like the word Chanel on a mask, people would probably buy it. So I was really shocked by that. Next, Louis Vuitton. Yeah, I was really confused by that as well, since I know they are coming out with the facial shields. I'm not sure if production and everything is sort of slowed down where they couldn't get them for the spring summer 2021 show, but I would have loved to have seen that in there. Um and then yeah, the rest of them, I really feel like these bigger brands like Chanel and Louis Vuitton, they are sort of at the forefront when you in your mind when you think of a luxury brand. So, and they're tops in the industry. So I would have loved to have seen sort of their take on it and a sort of luxury mask. What does that mean? What does that look like? I'm intrigued, and I really wish they would have showed us something interesting. Some of the designers that actually did do masks were Christian Siriano, Allison Olivia, Rebecca Minkoff, Rick Owens, and then there were a few others. I will try and leave some links to some of the shows with masks in the show notes and description because I think it's interesting to take a look at what different designers did. First off, Christian Siriano, I know he was at the forefront in New York when they were like making masks at the beginning. I think his brand was one of the first to really volunteer to start making them. In the show though, his spring summer 2021 show, I think it was held outside in like Connecticut or somewhere on the East Coast, and quite honestly, I was pretty bored with the majority of it. The masks included, they were all sort of matching the dresses or the clothes. There were a lot of like big printed dresses, and then there was the printed mask, and I don't know. I was not a fan of it personally. I'm not a big Christian Siriano fan either. So I don't know. That one was just boring. I would have loved to have seen something else. Alice and Olivia, I think they did like printed ones, very on brand for them. Rebecca Minkoff too, just pretty on brand. So I don't know. I mean, looking forward when we're thinking about Fashion Week in February, it's hard to say right now what's going to be happening, obviously, with the state of the world, with COVID-19. But if we're thinking about Fashion Week, I'm not sure if we're going to see masks then. I hope we will. I'm not sure what the fashion shows will look like then. Once again, it's just hard to say. But it's my hope that we will start to see some designers coming out with a face mask or just something like a face shield even. Give us something. Give us something interesting. Please. I'm hoping I can update you guys if there are some that come out, just to do a little review. We can follow back up on this, talk about it again, because I mean, we're all wearing them. Like, why didn't they do it? It's just so confusing to me. But that is all I have for today's episode, guys. Let me know in the reviews or in the comments on Instagram or Twitter what you guys thought of this episode. And if you have any ideas for future episodes, I would love to hear them. And be sure to follow us on Instagram at the Fashion Files Podcast and Twitter, the Fashion Files Pod. And that is it, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day, guys.